Research tells us that web users tend to scan information rather than reading every word of text. So you need to grab their attention, catch their eye, and persuade them with data. That means being able to create good-looking graphs, diagrams. Today we're designing custom infographics. If you want to follow along, you can download the spreadsheet, link in the video description. Then let's jump straight into Adobe Illustrator. Are you ready to go? I'm ready to go. I've taken my overshirt off. You want to go into Illustrator, create a new file, make sure you're using pixels. I've also got a 100 pixel grid set up. If you go in there and do that. Okay, let's go. So we need some data to work with. I've also got some swatches, I should tell you that, in here. If you want to copy these, I'm going to start with these colors. The red is 223, 7, 28, and the blue is 130, 116. If you want to make a swatch in Illustrator, you just click new swatch here. So you might have figured out AC, red, blue. We're going to use statistics from the Milan derby, AC and Inter. This is Italian football for those who haven't figured that out yet. And we've got stats on the head-to-head, the league position over the last 30 years, and the trophies that they've won. So let's start with the head-to-head. And this kind of data is best shown in a pie chart. Here we go. So I'm just going to paste this so I can look at it in here. And you want to go over and choose the pie chart tool. Now, if you can't see it, edit toolbar, click here. And we want this to be circular. And we can just type this data in because we've only got 3 data points. Then when you're done, just hit apply and panic. Don't panic. When this kind of thing happens, you just want to transpose the row and column and then click apply. Bang. Now we have got a lovely pie chart. Now I'm going to copy that. I like to work iteratively in Illustrator, making sure I am knowing which direction I'm going in. So that's why I've got this little arrow here. And with this graph now, we can just ungroup this. Yes, we want to do that because we can then edit these things individually. So we're going to make the AC red and Inter blue. And oops, Inter's the lightest grey. Be careful with that. And the draw the dark. So that's a good start. I'm going to drag this out again. Get rid of the key because we don't need that now. We've got these black strokes here in the middle, and I think it might be cool to do something with that, to use that. So what I'm going to do is I am going to flatten the transparency, and then we have these black sections, and I should be able to deselect the bits in the middle, and yes, it's given me black now. I'm going to put a bit of stroke on this, and just to the eye, I'm thinking of maybe just dragging this out of the outside. So what we're doing here, because we've decoupled this graph from the graph tool, from the data, we can just edit this like we edit anything in Adobe Illustrator. So that looks okay to me. I'm going to flatten the transparency so I get my strokes like that, and then I'm going to unite this path. And then what we can do is, if I just hold Shift and Option, drag this out from the center, and we can sort of drag it out to have this kind of effect here, which I think will just help delineate these sections as we start to mess with them a little bit more. So I'm thinking with this interface, we'll throw this into a web page later. It will be cool to have it on a black background because we have the black stripes. It's black and blue stripes for Inter, black and red stripes for AC Milan. I'm just going to lock that so I can select this thing I can't see anymore. I'll make that into a, whoops, this is grouped. So let's ungroup this thing. Now I can see my strokes. So we're going to have a black background for our interface. So I'm going to make another ellipse and put that in the center just to create, and I've got snap to grid on now, as you can probably tell, a different sort of feel with this. And I'm going to use this as my key object, this stroke. You see a line to key object there. So I can bring this circle into the middle. Okay, so this ring is a different sort of feel now. It's a little bit more interest to it. Let's see what more we can do. Now we can select our green. I'm thinking like just an off black thing that like delineates these sections, because I want to do a gradient. So select your gradient tool, radial gradient, and you just click and drag this. Just takes a bit of experimenting sometimes, just getting it looking the way you want to. Double click on this white end. If you've not got this selected, just go to swatches, and then we can do our red. Similarly with the blue. Whoops, G, radial gradient, and do something similar, but I want the blue. It just takes finessing usually to get, this isn't a true black here at the other end. There we go. Same thing here. We didn't, we just were kind of using what was selected there, so just make sure you always check. Change this to white, and this we'll just deselect. No, I don't want to do that. Deselect. That's basically what I was thinking. We'd probably want to finesse so these black lines sort of merge somewhat into each other a little bit, but basically we've created something interesting here that has its own graphical appearance and style, which is much more interesting than what we had here. And you could also fill it with patterns and all kind of different things. But I think that's a good start. Maybe we'll have some text in the middle. What have we got here? This Derby Della Madonnina, maybe the numbers, things like that. We'll maybe tidy up when we lay this out in a web page. Okay, next let's go to the league position. So I'm going to copy these bottom two rows, and this is best displayed in a line graph. Okay, so I'm just going to paste this. Again, tick. Don't panic, transpose, tick. Here we go. Again, drag out a copy of it. If yours isn't looking like this, by the way, you can right click or double click, click on type, and say you've got the data points on there like that you don't want. Just within type, you can make sure that these things are all unchecked. We just want to connect data points and have this line. Okay, so this is a copy already, so we're going to ungroup it again. Get rid of some of these extraneous bits around the edge that we don't need. Okay, fantastic. So I want to be able to isolate these strokes now. So I'm just going to maybe make another copy, which is always a good plan. And I want to maybe bring, so we've got each of these on a grid line. Now, because this is stroked, I can drag it out of aspect and it's still going to be correct. So I'm thinking if I can get that number 3. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. It's because I've got this 15 at the top. I'm not able to drag this exactly. Great. So these are lining up perfectly now. So I can move these to the side a little bit, this guide, just so we know where our numbers are. I'm going to make another copy of that. And I'm going to just drag this out to a more sort of pleasing kind of aspect ratio. So I'm just making the stroke a bit bigger to my eye. The black one, we should have done this earlier, the colours, but the black one is AC. We could always check our data. Whoops, they were both selected. Did you notice that again? I've just got black selected now, great. So I can make that AC. And then the grey one. Beautiful, okay. they're ungrouped. Yeah, so I've got each of them now. Now I know what you're thinking, it's upside down. It is upside down. 1 is better than 13th, so we want to flip this around. So again, let's just copy it. Let's bring the numbers as well. Now this is where the stylus, just make sure we've got the this selected. You know what, I'm going to move it because I'm getting fed up with that. There we go. And we want to flip it. So we're going to go to Object, Transform, Reflect. And that's correct. Were AC number 1 the first 2 years? Yes, they were. Okay, so we know this is correct. Beautiful. So let's try maybe introducing some of these black background again, like we had before, because we know our interface is going to be on a black background. That's what I'm preparing. Okay, I'm just going to lock that. So this already looks okay. It looks interesting. We're making progress, but we can definitely do more. So it would be useful to have these grid lines, I think, that go across here. Just before I do that, I'm going to copy these upside down, or correct way up now, graphs again. And if we maybe introduce these grid lines here. Wait, I'm going to make sure actually with this graph, I'm going to delete that. I want to make sure it's snapped into my grid. So it is vertically, but it isn't horizontally. So let's, whoops, make sure they're both selected. It is on this side. I'll do it to the left as well. Perfect. So these go on the grid lines. Excellent. Okay, now I can make a copy. Okay, great. I'm just going to do some vertical lines here with the line tool. Let's make it in this weird green again so we can always use it. Drag it down a copy and then Command D to just duplicate that. And there we've got lines for places 1 to 13. Lovely jubbly. Okay. Select same fill and stroke. Select that green. Make this a very fine line, maybe a 2. Some kind of light grey. Oh no, but then that will stand out more. I want, oh, you know what I want? I want the colour from here. Beautiful. Okay, that's too fine. That is definitely too fine. Oh, it's because it's on a fill. Put it back to a stroke. 2 point. Yeah, not bad. It needs to go to the back. Oh, one's been missed out. This one needs to copy this appearance. Okay, so these graph lines should be over the top of the grid lines, which now they are. Fantastic. So again, not bad. I had an idea what we can do is maybe add some sort of gradient that looks like it's underneath these lines. So I'm going to actually move these apart from one another because we've got them on the grid and because they're all above and below one another, and we can always refer to the placings as well to check we're not going to have a problem. So I'm just going to use the pen tool here and draw across to turn this into a shape. Command J, just drawing that together. And I'll do the same here with the inter one, just continuing from our stroke line. If this is too quick, watch it at half speed. If too slow, watch it at 2x. Bring this back over here. Just hold shift to make sure we're on the same lines. We know that's correct because we know they've both finished first at different times. Drag that back up. In fact, you know what? Before I do that, it's not great having them in these colors because it could be confusing. So instead of this red, I'm just going to push it to like an orange. And this blue, let's push that to a cyan or a teal. Then we know what's what. It's always good to have that clear separation. So this one is going to want to go near, not quite at the back, maybe just behind, in front of the black sort of thing. Okay, then I'm going to select this, G, I'm going to do a linear gradient this time from the top. so it just fades off, this kind of thing. But instead of the white, I want my blue. And then the same here. Sorry, linear gradient, click and drag, and make sure we definitely edit the right one. It is the correct one. You can see this kind of idea, but this red one being underneath, it's getting lost. So does the red want to come in front maybe? Could be because of that, or it could just be that this gradient is too much. We just need a bit from the beginning. Maybe the blue is better in front, just so it looks like it's coming down a bit. So I think if we turn this opacity down maybe 50% on each of these, there we go. Just get rid of this for now, because we know they're all the odd numbers. And again, if we just compare, we'd maybe want the numbers here be a bit clearer with league placings, but what we had, and even that, we sent some options to it, and what we've created, I think, definitely something more attractive. Okay, one more thing. We've got the trophies. So this is what each team has won. Now, this would be best displayed in a bar graph, you know, just simple rectangles like this. But the thing about this is it's a bit boring, and I thought it'd be quite cool infographic wise to have like the actual trophies displayed. So here's one I made earlier. I just grabbed these photographs from AC's website, and then I have drawn over the top of them. So this one I did with the pen tool, this one I did with these compound shapes, this one I did with compound shapes as well. Now we've got a video on the pen tool if you want to learn how to draw something like this and then follow it along, but also it's just a case, if you wanted to do this now, you can just grab one of these things, and I just vaguely to the grid drew you know, rectangles that matched up with this trophy, finessed it, and then when I got to the end I just rounded off some of the corners and that. I checked the height of these and then made sure they were at the correct scale. Now I've had a look, there's photos of this bloke, whoever that is, with these trophies. These seem to scale. This Coppa Italia seems like it's a little bit bigger in his hands compared to this, but I don't mind this because this is almost like the relative importance of the trophies from most to least. So I think that'll look good in our graph. So I've just copied those vectors over here. For the sake of our grid, let's make them 200 high, because we've got this 100 pixel grid. And then I'm just going to lay these out. So maybe move this one by 250. So there's that little 50 pixel gap in between. This one, I'm going to turn off snap to grid. I'm going to pull it so it's on the smart guide right at the bottom. Then I'm going to move it by 150, so 3 times the gap between the others. And then I'll need to move this, I'll do it like this way, by 50. Let's do the same with this trophy. Okay, so now we've got our vertical spacing correct. Let's put these all together like that, and then that will help us make sure that they look right as we go across the columns. So they've won 19 leagues each, so I'm just going to drag this over. That's too much. Let's try moving it by 150. That's good. Okay, number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. That's a lot of trophies, more than my team's won. Okay, so I'm going to colour these, and I will colour each one when the data is correct. So they've won that many, we know that. 3 of these for Inter. A big, that's 6. Don't do them out of a Champions League, come on. Yep. 5 for AC. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and then we've basically got an infographic there. I'm sure it looks well over the black. I'm going to throw this into a little Figma layout now, and let's have a look at what that looks like. Okay, so I've pulled this into Figma and a bit of a layout and just did a few things, like obviously this typesetting, but just made this red a little bit darker just to make it sit in with where we have the gradients here. I've added some numbers here in this head-to-head circle, this pie chart. I was saying again, maybe we could put the Derby della Madonnina in the middle. That might look quite cool, but let's just have a look at what that looks like. This definitely has a lot more visual interest and kind of makes the points as well a lot more strikingly than just some dull, boring graphs, or even worse, just a list of text. And that's really the power of infographics and what you can do. So hope this was helpful for you. Let us know if it was, and until next time, happy designing.